So this is my first flight, first of two to get checked out in a 172. So my plan is to get checked out on a 172 first and then end up doing my IPC in that airplane. So I picked this Cessna 172 SP. It's a Millennium version with Island Air out of Toronto City Centre Airport. So I picked that because it's not too far from home and easy to access now that they've got a tunnel heading out there. And this is where I did most of my flying. So I didn't get much ATC video on here because I recorded a bit of our ATC conversation as I was departing, but I accidentally unplugged the jack that goes to the audio, to the GoPro that records the audio. So we've got this taxiing out right now out to the run-up area, and then just getting set up for departure, getting my iPad working again. This is my first time flying with an iPad, so figuring out the positioning and all that kind of stuff all went into this first flight here. And where you saw the iPad position there is actually not a great spot for VFR flying because it blocks a big part of your windshield, but it was perfect for IFR flying because it's easy to incorporate into your scan. So here's some of the ATC and the rest of the audio and visual for you. Hope you enjoy.
On the whole short lines here.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's the whole short.
Yep. Yeah, so brakes. And it used to be over there, and then they moved it here about a year or two ago.
Glad you mentioned that. I would have blown.
Okay.
Okay, now, but power now ain't.
Yep.
Checks are after the clearance, so I'll wait.
Okay. I'll wait till after the sky lands. We're going to rotate at 55, climb out at 74.
Perfect. Okay. Rotate 5, climb out. Tower India Bravo Tango is ready for departure 26, local east.
India Bravo Tango Tower, line up and wait 26.
Line up and wait, runway 26, India Bravo Tango.
F27, proceed Charlie Delta, hold short.
Okay,
26.
time is...
Charlie Delta, hold short at 26, Delta 7.
Kilo Whiskey Oscar, just give way to the vehicle going the other way and company plane from the right. You can follow them in, monitor 1217, no need to call.
And icing.
We don't need veto heat, we get landing lights on. Okay. Transponder now. Checks are done, approach area is clear. Runway is clear. That gotta just be clear. Okay, take off 26 in the Bravo Tango. Okay, we're just gonna get power going and we'll check instruments and gauge. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the rest of the flight on my 4-flight track log here. It's pretty cool. So that's me departing out of the island and flying out towards the practice area. And if you don't have 4-flight, this is a really neat feature about it, is it tracks your log. It records everything you do from the moment you start taxiing, whether you turn it on or not. You just have to turn it on in your settings. And out here you can see that we're just passing through a tier in the control zone here where we're able to climb up to 3,000 feet. And as soon as you pass, you see this on your map, and you can climb up, and you can see it down here too, that we've climbed up, leveled off, and then once we got past that ring, we climbed up to, tried to get 3,500 feet, but there was some cloud out there, so we had to go down to 3,000 feet to do the air work. So what we're doing here is we're flying, and the first thing we're doing here is kind of neat. It's these steep turns, right? And if you look at them here, and again, this is my first time flying a 172 in 9 years, and first time flying at all in 16 months. So this is the first steep turn here. You can see it's kind of it's weak. You know, it's the angle of bank is not consistent because it's you can just tell by the turn, right? It starts out all right, then it kind of levels out, then it gets tight again, and I don't come out on the original point that I started the turn. There's very little wind. So so that was not the greatest turn. But then the second one, the one to the right here, is much better. It's much more consistent angle of bank, and I roll out much better on the heading that I went into the turn. And then the left one here, the last one to the left, is probably, for me, the best one of all because it's the closest to a perfect circle. And I do just roll out a touch on the early side, which is why the turn kind of expands a little past here and then carries on that same heading as we went in. So you can just watch the airplane fly through those turns. It's kind of neat. So then we proceeded further north, and here, if you look at the profile view here what we're doing is we're doing stalls, right? So you can tell by the dip down in airspeed here, that's the green line, that's where I've stalled the plane once, twice, 3, 4 stalls. And a couple of stalls, I think first was power off stall, then power on stall, then a couple departure stalls. It was a lot of fun. And the airplane performed really well, a lot better than I'm used to. Overall, this airplane, it's a 172 SP, and the model that I'm used to flying is the K model, and it's just worlds apart. This thing really, really outperforms that. So if you're saddled with an older 172 and you want to get better performance, there is a big difference moving up just in model years of the same airplane. That's what I discovered. So we get going again. I'll push us through the flight, and then we get through this portion of the stalls. And then we get to this part here as soon as we start heading north again, and this is slow flight. So you can see the speed dips down to a much slower speed. And I was pretty happy with my slow flight. We got down, I think we did 20 degrees flap, and he wanted between 50 and 55 knots, and I was able to maintain that. There's just one point here, right here, where I got a little slow and then increased the speed, got a little fast, and had to bring it back to a better setting. And here's the recovery, which was just full power, keeping the nose down. You see the altitude didn't vary at all through that. I was very happy with my altitude control. And then we got back up into the cruise up around here, which is funny because this is like right where my house is. Right around here is where we finished our VFR work, and we decided to shoot an RNAV approach down to Oshawa here. So it's a T, right? So this is the beginning of the approach right here. There's that initial approach fix, and then we come in here, hang a left turn, and head in. I'll just show you the plate of what that looks like. So here you can see that's where I'm sitting right now, which is my dining room. So we practically flew right over my dining room, although it originated way down at the Island Airport in Toronto. And I just had a bit of time up there to get the approach loaded, get an approach briefing in, and fly us direct to that first initial approach fix in the approach. We were starting off, we were vectored at 3,000 feet. So you can see our MSA here is 3,100, but we were vectored at 3,000. So we came into the approach at 3,000, which worked out really well because, as you can see here from this approach fix here, which is where you make the turn onto final there at Kipix. At Kipix, the approach to glide slope altitude is 4,010 feet. So we were coming in at 3,000, which gave us plenty of time to capture that glide slope. And it also gave us a bit of a margin between the minimum altitude. You don't always have to fly at the minimum altitude. If you can stay as high as you can throughout the approach, it's always good, particularly when you're a single engine in IFR. So yeah, we got through there, and I'm going to show you the rest of the flight track, and then just the video of me doing a landing and a touch and go at Oshawa Airport. And that will conclude this video. Have a look here. So we'll just play the rest of the track log. I head up there, go through the slow flight, then kind of get my act together. He starts giving me clearances. I do the approach briefing. He vectors me towards that fix, start the fix, head on down, and I'm pretty happy with how this approach went overall. So if we have a look at the approach profile here, hang on. Yeah, so here you get a really good look at the profile descent, right, in that glide slope. So here you see it right from there, right on down. And so, you know, at 1,000 feet above, which is right about where we are right now, you want to have things stabilized. You want to have your final flap setting in, you want to have your final approach speed in. So I was pretty happy with, again, looking at that speed profile, it's pretty decent. And looking at the altitude profile, it's a pretty steady descent down to the runway. So I was pretty happy with that approach, especially since this was my first ever RNAV approach and my first instrument approach of any kind for over 30 years. So can't complain with that. So I'm just going to show you the video now. Actually, I'll just let this play through. I'm going to show you that that's me flying back to the island airport. So I'm going to show you the video now from the airplane of me doing that touch and go, and then that'll be it. So thanks for joining me, and this is my first video. Had some camera issues, which I'll work out eventually. Never easy to be flying and filming, but I'll figure it out and get you some nice videos on this channel for your enjoyment. Thanks for flying with Frank.